Look, lists are hard to make. I wrote this the same night I wrote my movie list. I think I started writing it at like 3:50 a.m. Without further ado, let's begin. My number 10 game of 2021 is Before Your Eyes. I've talked about this before on this channel. Not that much of a game per se, almost more of a roughly 2-hour experience that you control with your blinking. Still incredible. One of the most emotional video gaming experiences I've ever had. The control method of blinking in the front of the camera completely immersed me. The story subject matter also hits very hard. It's quite sad, but also moving in a positive way. Makes you sort of feel hopeful when it's over. I couldn't recommend this more. It would be much higher on the list if it was more of a video game than it is. It's like $10 not on sale, roughly like an hour and 45 to 2 hours to complete. Mega recommend. Check out Before Your Eyes, please. My number 9 is The Forgotten City.
Salve, friend.
You find yourself as a modern person in an ancient Roman city where if anyone sins, everyone dies. You and the leader of the city are working to try and prevent the sin because if you prevent it, there would be no reason for you to have been summoned to the city, therefore creating a paradox where you would have never arrived. So that's kind of the plot of the game. It's a time loop. Someone will sin. Usually it's you, testing the waters to see what you can get away with. But someone will eventually sin, and then the day will have to start over. It sounds complicated as far as the plot goes about how creating the time paradox is, but if you play it, you'll get it. It's more intuitive if you're experiencing it. Gameplay is mostly talking to characters and learning things about them and the world, but it's fantastic. It started as a Skyrim mod, but is now a standalone game. It also does you the favor of allowing you to delegate tasks you might need to repeat to a guy who you talked to at the beginning of the loop, which is very nice. Probably one of the better game systems for time loop games where it's like, you've done this. Do you want to have to do it every time? No. Tell this guy to do it. Super good. If you hate dialogue and dialogue options in games, it's not going to be for you. But otherwise, it's a great time. My 8 is Forza Horizon 5. Is this the best racing game ever made? I think it might be. To me, at least. The way the game is laid out with a ton of events to do all around the map is just extremely fun. If it's not the best racing game ever, it's definitely the best open world racing game to me. But I think this is just the most fun I've had driving a car in a video game. Number 7, Psychonauts 2. The best story-oriented action platformer of 2021 and a worthy sequel to the beloved original from over a decade ago. As someone who never finished that original, I super dug the ability to swap psychic powers on the fly during combat. It's just a super fun to play game. Did I have as much fun playing it as I did my number 6? No, or would be higher than that. But I think it had a much better story. Super fun game. It was on Game Pass, which was great. I think I played it exclusively for a few nights before I finished it. It took me a while, but also shout out to Game Pass. I never downloaded Psychonauts 2, which is very nice. I played it. I streamed it. Never had an issue. I'll probably play it again in the future. It's one of those games where I'll probably just like throw on if there's ever like a downtime in game releases again, but who knows if that happens ever in the future. Number 6 game of 2021 was Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Ratchet & Clank is my favorite game franchise of all time. Not a joke. Not hyperbole. I think I've played every game that's ever been released with the Ratchet & Clank name. I love it. Do I like it more than Mario games? Yes. It's literally my favorite franchise of all time. Regardless of whatever your favorite franchise is, this is mine. Respect it, please. I love almost all games of the series. This game is beautiful on the PS5, and this franchise has some of the best gun-style weapons of all time. Of all time. You can at me if you want. We can argue about it. That's why I put this above Psychonauts 2. I think this is just, even though Psychonauts 2 had a better story, I think Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is more fun to play because of the guns you can use. This game is an absolute blast. It looks like a Pixar movie that's a meme that's been going around for, I want to say, at least 5 years about this franchise, but it's true. Am I going to play this again? Yes, absolutely. The first time I finished the story, I started playing it again on the New Game Plus mode, which for someone that claims to not have a lot of time to do stuff like this says a ton. I love this game. I hope to play it forever. Number 5. There's another platformer on my list. It Takes Two, baby. Okay, this is the best platformer of 2021. I'm a big fan of games that I can play co-op with my wife.
You killed me.
It Takes Two has a ton of mechanics in it and is never even close to being a smidge of boring. It forced cooperation in the best way. Please play this with someone you're close to, like significant other, parent, sibling, best friend. It's so super good. It has a lot of the same mechanics you're going to see if you play Psychonauts and Ratchet and Clank. It kind of, I don't want to say like a crib stuff, but they were like, hey, what about this idea? And they were like, yeah, let's put that in the game and weave it into the story in the most genius way that we possibly could do. I don't begrudge the Game Awards for giving this Game of the Year at all. It is incredible. You need to play it. Number 4 is another game I've talked about publicly. By publicly, I mean on this channel. I love the mechanics in Deathloop and how it made me feel like a detective that was succeeding at their investigation. Sure, it doesn't afford the freedom some other similar games might, but when you complete the final loop, it does feel great. I will be replaying Deathloop in the future if I can find the time from the seemingly relentless schedule of releases this year. I would also like to, I only saw like one ending. I would like to see what happens if you do stuff differently. Number 3 game of 2021, which was Returnal. This is the best PS5 exclusive you can play right now. I think one of the reasons this hasn't received as much love as it should have is because PS5 is still hard to get your hands on and because it's hard as hell. But just like all the roguelites, you just got to keep plugging away. It'll get better. I might be talking to myself a little bit here. Have I finished this game? No. But does it matter? No. It's good enough as is. The sound, the gameplay, the feel, the way the controller operates. Everything in this game is super, super good. Great experience. Highly recommend Returnal. That's why it's my number 3 game of 2021. My number 2 is Subnautica Below Zero. I haven't seen this on anyone's list. Yeah, let's come out and say it. The original Subnautica is a better and often scarier game than Below Zero. Having said that, it does not mean Below Zero is bad. Being not as good as one of the greatest games ever made is barely a dig. And I love this game. I think I spent around close to 40 hours in this in around a week. This is my solace in a week where COVID was in my house and I had to find stuff to pass the time in my living room, hanging out with my dog. Or I was sleeping on the couch for, I think, 12 nights or something like that, or my wife was sick. Below Zero has more of a story than the original Subnautica, and the final 5 minutes are better than most big-budget sci-fi movies. Great game. That's way different than Subnautica, because you're kind of not really just trying to get off the planet and do whatever you can to do that. You kind of know how to do a lot of stuff from the get-go, because you go there on purpose to find your sister. And I'm not going to spoil any of the story. If you played it in early access, it's quite different. If you like Subnautica, you'll love Below Zero. Number 1. Number 1 of 2021. Valheim. Look, this game is early access, so it's not finished. I also didn't even finish the parts they released so far. Doesn't matter. If you're skeptical about it or the validity of this pick. I love Valheim. I was just thinking about it like 20 minutes before I started recording this. I spent hours cutting down trees and bringing my wife wood as she was building our house or our base. Yeah, I also wrote that, giving my wife wood. There's a joke there somewhere. Cutting trees in a game sounds boring, right? Was it? Nope. It was great. Of course, you could do more than just cut trees and build a base. This is just an example. I love survival games, and this is my favorite co-op survival game I think I've ever played. We'll probably be playing this game for years to come, I would hope. Like I said, 20 minutes before this, I was thinking about this game. My wife would be building our base while I was cutting trees and gathering wood, or I was using a pickaxe to dig a moat around the house. But I did that for literal real-world hours, by the way. Just chopped trees and dug a moat with a pickaxe. And I had a great time with it. I don't know if it's like the music was like hypnotic and just lulled me into this weird sense of being a worker that just liked to chip away at stuff, but I don't know. It was Valheim was like magic. And it was the most magic I think I felt in a game that came out in 2021. That's it. Thank you for watching. If you saw this on YouTube, you didn't make it this far into the video. But if you did, you're a champion. Subscribe, like the video, comment on something. Tell me what your favorite game of the year was or games.